If you were asked to picture the city of Toronto, what would you think of? It might be skyscrapers, large roads, and modern lifestyles. However, as we live longer in the city and lower our eyes, we see more.
According to statistics courtesy of City of Toronto, the population of unhoused individuals has been increasing in the last 4 years, exceeding the 10,000. Recently, the number of outdoor homeless individuals has reached over 12,000, in which nearly half is between 12 to 54 years old. 77% of the homeless people have been homeless for more than 6 months.
We walked on the streets of downtown Toronto to explore the major concerns of homelessness. We interviewed 3 individuals representing different perspectives to investigate. This is Kevin, a man with 26 years of experience being unhoused and is looking for a way out to this day. This is S.E. Thomas, a writer who exchanges his books for donations. He has experience of being homeless as well as living in a shelter. This is Chris Snodgrass, the Senior Manager of Shelter and Respites at Dixon Hall. The first major issue is the lack of housing.
I had a good upbringing. I had my grandmother to be my mother, and I had my grandmother to be my father. I think her teachings has more so helped me in my element of brokenness as a mature man than anything I would have ever learned from my father. She passed away 2 decades and 6 years ago, and I've been homeless for 2 decades and 6 years. My family doesn't want to be a part of my life. They're all, I don't know. They're all pretty much dead to me because they don't want me to be a part of their lives.
I pay $1,200 a month. I've been at the same Airbnb for almost 4 years. Nowadays, for that same place, she's charging like $1,700.
So we have 220 spots between our 4 programs, and we're at capacity 99% of the time. It's very difficult in the system now because of the influx of refugees that we've got, and they're staying in the shelters. Some of our shelters are at 50-60%. So if it goes to our chronic homeless users, have moved out into encampments now. So the average stay is about 8 months. Some are less and some are a lot more. You know, there's been people who've stayed here for 10 years.
The second major issue is the use of drugs.
The data of overdoses incidents both show a decreasing trend in the past 4 years, and the total of opioid overdoses in the past 4 years also shows a lowering trend.
I used to be a drug addict but I've been clean like 6 years. I wrote a book about it.
In his book, Through the Protagonist, he tells us, "But I needed money, and selling weed was something that I knew how to do."
The biggest challenge of this work could be some of the clients that are dealing with undiagnosed mental health, and usually what they do is they self-medicate with street drugs. Sometimes the behavior that comes along with that, it can be unpredictable. When I was a harm reduction worker back in 2017, I reversed an overdose, and I actually saved someone's life.
Wow.
That was the first time for me. I did it many times after that, but that was my first time, and it was a crazy experience. And still to this day, I see the client and she thanks me every single time. And after her experience with that, she stopped using and she went and had a family, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. And we also have programming that's set up by our harm reduction worker and our housing workers usually. And what they do is they set up harm reduction education, overdose awareness, stuff like that.
The third major issue is unemployment and underemployment.
People are trying to get at me. They want me to vandalize. They want me to break windows. They want me to hurt people. They want me to steal. I won't give into those avenues because I feel like I'm nothing to lose. How am I going to get myself out of homelessness if I give into those avenues, making it worse for myself? I'd rather sit down and beg. I'd rather find some under the table work. You know, even that's illegal. It's a little bit more legit than going and stealing or selling drugs or selling my ass. I'm already discouraged. I feel like I'm forced to be stagnant when I don't want to be. I have no control over my life. I know nothing is free. I don't mind paying. I went to the temp agencies. I got myself jobs right away, started making myself money right away, started choring, taking care of myself, making my food, working on getting a full-time job so that I can get out of that place. After doing the temp agency job and choring and being impressed with my own transitioning with the help that they provided to me. Oh, as soon as I got a full-time job, I feel like getting back to the streets.
Yesterday I was on the streets and talking to someone and claims to be kicked out. So
No,
that
not
doesn't.
So at most, you could be service restricted from a shelter for 3 months,
Yeah.
but that has to be approved by an agency review officer at the city.
Are there any clients in here that have a full-time or part-time job, or like?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So like, what percentage is that? Like.
I'm gonna say rough guess, maybe like 15%. We're hiring on 20 new peers for our winter programs, so peer support workers. We're looking for people who have homelessness in their background or have been homeless, so that we can help with meeting with the peers. So I was a part of the Children and Youth program when I was a youth.
Yeah.
I was living in social housing where Dixon Hall was mainly located. So Dixon Hall gave me the opportunity to start working with them, and I grew with them.
I see. That's very nice of them to offer that job.
Yeah.
There are a few ways to get access to shelters in Toronto if you need help. The first method is to call Central Intake. I've heard before from 211 that there's a central line calling in, which
Central Intake is what it's called.
Yeah.
It's connected to the software system that we have that's online. It's called SMIS, Shelter Management Information System. So we manage our admission and discharge through that program. So whenever there's a discharge in the program, we discharge them off of the software, and then Central Intake becomes aware that there's a space in the system, and they'll start calling the program. If we discharge someone, they're calling within 30 seconds asking for the space, because there's a queue of people waiting, right? I think last I heard is like 200 or 300 people in queue waiting every day. It's first come, first serve.
If you can't remember the number of Central Intake, you can also call 211. You may also be taken in by an outreach team.
Yeah, again, it goes to Streets to Homes, which is with the City of Toronto. They're like an outreach team. We also have our own outreach team. We're partnered with the Gerstein Center, so it's called Here to Help.
Yeah.
So we have a few outreach workers who are out in encampments, reaching out to clients and trying to find them spaces and making sure that they're safe, and if they need anything, we give them what they need, sleeping bags, food, water, whatever, right?
I see.
Streets to Homes is the same idea. They're doing the same thing, but Streets to Homes has a little bit more reach, so to say.
Some shelters also accept walk-ins if they have beds available. Although life is tough at the moment, many things have been done to make it better.
So the city plans to open 5 or 6 new shelters by the end of the year to help mitigate that issue.
More than half of the supportive housing development are in progress now. The City of Toronto are working on constructing new housing in several parts of the city.
Thanks so much. Cut.
You can bring in anybody to do that. And you can carry around in your backpack, extra socks or maybe old shoes that you can drop off at Value Village if you notice something. Because you see a lot of sick people